My name is Clifford Owens, and I'm an artist working in performance and video photography. Performance art is a medium that has always refused to be defined. That refusal to be defined is what defines it. But borrowing from from theater and borrowing from the visual arts, and it's not a medium that is embraced by the general public, and it's sort of not so embraced in the kind of art system, the museum or gallery system. This has been even more so in terms of Black U.S. performance artists. And when we think about Black U.S. performance artists, we usually defer to, like, the stalemates, Adrian Piper and David Hammonds. But I'm not just preoccupied with, like, Black U.S. performance art or Black U.S. performance artist. I mean, I'm an artist who, like everybody else, is trying to reach as broad an audience as possible, whose work is informed by many different sort of traditions, art traditions or philosophical traditions. It's not just centered around issues of blackness, but it's always been, about the body, Of course, like, this body signifies certain things in the culture about race and representation, so you can't really get away from it. What is it based on? Being human, I guess. Usually when people ask me what I do and I say I'm an artist, I'm a performance artist, it's usually like, oh, so you're in theater? Or like you're an actor or whatever. And the culture is very aware of the incredible legacy of Black U.S. performing arts. In other words, we're really aware of the fact that Black people, can sing and dance. A lot of books about that, dancing, theater, cinema, television, radio even. And all that stuff is very, very significant, but there's nothing, you bring up the issue of performance art and there's kind of, no discussion. I do a lot of short performative videos, a lot of confrontation between the performer and the camera. For example, in one piece, Infidelity, I'm sort of crawling under a red futon and rolling around on top of it, very sort of slowly and seductively. Some people have this, like, birth association, but I never liked that interpretation because it sounds too easy to me. Just thinking of you, Whitney Museum of American Art, that here is just me sort of playing the voyeur on the one hand, but also kind of investigating what I perceive to be class and racial differences at the museum. The fact that the museum is a service industry. I mean, not just in terms of consuming food, but also consuming art. I did a performance in New Haven. It was a piece called Kimchi, Fried Rice, and Beer. Throwing these flyers out with Cornel West's image on it and Kim Il-sung's image. And played various videos. One was Kim Gibson's Korean Comfort Women. One was Louis Farrakhan lecture at the University of Illinois, Normal. And then Chris Rock, Bring the Pain. And then I had some porno of Asian women having sex with white men or black men. And then there was a live video feed, and then there was another monitor of me having conversations at the kitchen table, at this table, with my wife. I was drunk when I was doing it because I've been drinking all these Budweisers the whole time I'm cooking the... But it was about that. In a way, it was about trying to recreate the experience that we often have here in this very kitchen when our friends come over. Also in the performance behind me, there were tourist maps of South Korea and the countryside, and then clips from articles I'd been reading in the New York Times about what was going on in Korea. So I wanted to make this piece about that. So it was a pretty fun piece. It was about what was happening, and still is happening, in the Koreas, North and South Korea in the U.S. And, kimchi is a Korean staple food, and people eat it every day. And kimchi fried rice is a dish that I like and I make sometimes. And in North Korea, there are people who are starving, who swim across to China for food, and things are really pretty bad. And so just kind of using a cultural good, cultural cookery as a metaphor for issues of consumption, deprivation, degradation. Kimchi is kind of reddish color, so it looks very fleshy, very bodily. It was pretty intense, I guess. But, I mean, that's the point of performance art, right? It should be charged. I think. My work's like very ephemeral, you know. The kimchi piece is like, you know, well, the piece was consumed. It was about consumption. It was consumed, you know, that's, yeah, the only thing that maybe exists after the performance for me is a photograph. One other level that I was really interested in is how, you know, as a person of color, sort of appropriating or investigating another group of people of color, and about fetishization and about consumption of the other, and about difference and about language and sex. So I made a distillation of that performance in which I'm just sort of on the floor in underwear and a t-shirt and a mask from traditional Korean theater, and the mask represents kind of character, the idiot savant character. One thing I like about the piece is that people sometimes mistake the mask as an African mask, and there are some features in that mask that might suggest that. And so, in many ways, the work was a critique of its maker. It was a critique of me assuming this position of translator, or anthropologist. In other words, me going into another culture and trying to pull something out of that experience. I don't suggest putting kimchi in your shorts. I've never had a venereal disease, but if that is anything like what it feels like, it's not fun. It's a horrible feeling, but pretty fun piece to make. I think, like, you know, it's like food is a metaphor for bridging cultural gaps. I mean, food is a metaphor for building relationships, and it's always been the job of black people to tell white people about blackness, you know. It's always been the job of women to tell men about women, you know. So, I mean, I hope it's like not a hostile situation I'm creating, but more of a dialogue, more of a discourse.